Welcome to Friction Points, a focused 30-minute conversation around the most pressing issues facing credit unions today and practical solutions to move forward with. My name is Buell Collins. I will be your host today, and we are talking about a reality check for credit unions under 500 million, who are carrying the heaviest operational load and with the fewest resources. And in 2026, the pressure is not letting up. Rising costs, shrinking margins, technology debt, and a talent market that is not getting easier. Size is not destiny, but speed and clarity are. Today, we're going straight at what matters most. And to talk about that, I have some great guests with me. I have Zach Christensen, Marketing Director of Mitchell Stankovic and Associates, Linda White, Executive Director of CUWLA, and Scott Rains from the Supervisor Committee of Eagle Community Credit Union. Thank you guys all for joining us. If you stick around after the discussion, we're going to have a 15-minute Q&A with our great guests, and we'd love to see you there. Go ahead and pop those questions in the chat and let us know what you're thinking. With that, Zach, please take it away.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Buell. I love having somebody else on these calls doing some of this talking with us. It's fantastic and wonderful. So I'm going to spotlight us. So we are nice and front and center. I know Linda and Scott are just absolutely excited about that as well. But thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So just to set the stage for us a little bit, and I'm going to make this quick because I want to dig into this, and then also I want to, Buell, I'm gonna turn things upside down just a little bit. Not that we're going to answer the questions that'll come in, but our small credit union CEOs who may be on the call today, we want your engagement. So if we're saying something, Linda's saying something, Scott's saying something, and you have something to add, or maybe you want to be a little bit of a contrarian or whatever it may be, this is the moment. We want to have the small credit unions put their voice on this, okay? So we know, and Linda, you're very well aware, being the executive director of CUWLA, and then Scott, you have re-engaged. I don't know what it is about credit union CEOs. You cannot stay retired, I swear to goodness. But you've re-engaged with your credit union since retiring, and you all know that you're carrying some of the biggest loads of the industry with the most limited resources, or the people you're working with. And we know that the friction is really structural. It's not that you don't want to do better or your members don't want to do better. It's that there's so much happening at once, and there's only so many people to take care of it and do it, at each one of the organizations. So what we want to do is really have a reality check on some of the things that you're seeing as a perspective outside of the CEO role. And then I'm probably going to have you take the hat and put it back on for a minute. Hopefully no trauma, visions or anything happen. We keep you with us, but want you to really kind of think about, if this was happening to you right now, what you would be doing as well. So to dig us in for the first question, what pressures are hitting the 500 million and under hardest right now? Is it liquidity, talent, fraud, technology, debt? What are you seeing the most and why? And Scott, I'm going to actually start with you.
Technology is always going to be one of the most expensive things. There are so many products and services coming out, and none of them are cheap. And we'll go back to the smaller credit unions. When I was still CEO, I just retired about a year and a half ago. It was focusing on key components. You can't be everything to everybody. So we had to really be selective about who we partnered with and what our membership was actually going to want. Aside from that, membership growth is just a huge problem. That's the real challenge. They've done a really good job since I left, actually. But things that I tried to avoid that now come into play. If you want to make your liquidity numbers and everything else, I came from Eagle Community Credit Union. We had a great loan program, and we could make many more loans than we had, the resources to make. So we went into the high rate CD market. But those are hot members. They're going to come and go. But it's something that we had to deal with, and I think they did a really good job with it, and that's meeting our liquidity needs at the current time. But for me, it's membership growth, technology, I think, are two of the biggest challenges.
All right, Linda, you've got, 400 or so voices talking to you. What are they all saying? And I doubt it's
Talent.
the same thing, right?
Well, it's some of that, but talent. I think talent is probably one of the biggest things. In fact, I was just reading a post today from our CUWLA CEO group, talent. And it's necessarily, it's finding talent, and it's also the talent you have. And with all the opportunities out there, you think you've got a great successor, somebody ready to line up, and all of a sudden they're like, I'm going to move to sunnier weather. And then what do you do? So, I mean, as we know in credit union world, it's always, are we high tech or high touch, right? So the high touch part, we are a people business. You need people, and you need people that will show up. So I'm gonna leave it there. Talent.
Mm. And you know that fractional is kind of I'm gonna wing some
Yeah.
of these things here as y'all are
Yeah.
talking about it. Is a key component of our cusp pillars, because we know that executed could be of service. Are you seeing any that have had the opportunity to do that, share talent, that can kind of go across the board and solve some of that?
Yes, and we actually have some of our members that they like a CFO. CFO is a great example. How do you share a CFO across 2 or 3 credit unions and the capacity that they have?
Mhm.
The other thing is, we were talking about this before we kind of hopped on, is how do you pull in, like Scott said, he's retired, and we all need t-shirts that say we suck at retirement. Is like these retired professionals, how they're coming back in the fold, how do we weave them in to help some of these credit unions? So that is maybe on their strategy part or some of the backfill part. Again, the talent being first and foremost in the front of the member. But I always like to say, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And there is something to be said for this gray hair and this wisdom that we have to be able to pass that on, with the smallest credit unions that are helping their communities in the most remote parts of the country. And I think that's the other thing, is that there are credit unions in these areas that still need the high touch. It's
Mhm.
not about the high tech. I know my former credit union doesn't have any lobby traffic. So you can't outsource that way. So it's one shoe doesn't fit everybody.
Very correct, very correct. And I think there's also a trust factor of understanding and knowing, hey, they might not all be past credit union CEOs who come in to do this fractional work.
Yes.
But we have located some great ones that are doing some really, really amazing things across the board. So it's opening up to options. Scott and Linda, you both kind of touched on this. The question I'm going to ask is, what are the decisions that are being delayed, and what's kind of requiring immediate action? And one of those things that I'm seeing right now is that whatever action it is that they're having to take, they're not doing what they used to be able to do, which was go out, be in the community, be the business development person, because that was, you look at a $50 million credit union, the CEO was the business development person, right? And the janitor and the right? But when you're trying to struggle and implement new systems, or your core is making you switch over because they're sunsetting the one that you're using, or that makes it really hard. So what is being delayed besides getting out there and talking to the community and building membership, and what are they having to do right now that is taking up their time? Scott, what are you saying from Mike there at Eagle Credit Union?
You know, I think Mike's doing a pretty good job actually. He's getting
Very much
out.
so.
He's meeting with major clients. He's getting his name in the news actually, which was really good. He was actually at a couple spots on local news for things that the credit union was doing that helped tremendously. Um, Still, it's a different world from when we all worked off seg groups, because so many of us are community now that it
Mhm.
makes a huge difference. It doesn't help me necessarily to go out to 50 segs in a confined location when I have anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
That's still the biggest challenge. It's getting your name out there and getting recognized. Although there are still niche markets, you just have to find the niche markets around you. And I have to agree with Linda, talent is a huge one. It wasn't for me, but that's often location driven too. You're right. Some of the smaller credit unions, especially in rural areas, it's hard to find good talent. Luckily, I've always been in Orange County. There's a lot of talent floating around, and they have a great team at Eagle, and it was pretty easy to put them together. So, I was real happy with that. But we were lucky. We were lucky.
I love that. Linda, your thoughts?
I think along the same lines, getting out there to the members. You're putting out the fires, you got the examiner in, or the core, as you mentioned, and the technology. But it roots back to why are we not being in front of the member first? I actually challenged our CUWLA Rise group, those are the women that report to a CEO. And I challenged them and said, do you do random acts of kindness? Just throwing that out there as to kind of like charge them up with things that maybe they can do. Because I think what's happening is all these other things that people need to do. Are you forgetting other tools to make the lives of your members better? Because at the end of the day, that is what you're there for. And I think everybody like chasing all these other things that sometimes the member might suffer, not intentionally, but unintentionally.
Yeah. Okay. If you were CEO, here's where we're gonna do it. So put on those CEO hats again. Thank goodness Jason's not on here. He'd probably go running out of the room. What do you think would be the most pressing to you? What would be the thing that you would want to work on, but what do you think would be taking up the majority of your time?
That I would want to do.
Yeah, like what not, and not just want, but like what would be the one thing like, hey, if we could get this done, get it done. But I'm gonna have to spend 7 hours a day on this for the next 3 months because I have to. And I think about what your members are doing.
I know. God, I hate to keep coming back to the member, but because I'm a member of 4 credit unions.
Yeah.
So to me, it's that member experience. How are you like finding what like doing and we didn't do it a lot, I'll be honest, because of the cost involved, but that survey to find out what do the members want and need. And I think that's one of the things that smaller credit unions tend to not do because the cost associated with getting that data, and then don't just get data, do something with the data.
Got it. Scott?
Same thing. It would be member outreach in one way, shape, or form. We did a fair amount of surveying, even just using Survey Monkey, things like that. Less expensive things to try and find out what our members wanted. And another one would be lessons learned. We did a lot of partnerships with nonprofits. And at first, it was just reach out to every nonprofit we can, serve the underserved, especially in Orange County. It was a big one for us. But make sure you drive goals and the nonprofit knows there's something expected from them for your engagement. We invested a lot of money in them, and basically we're helping them, but we're getting nothing in return. So you have to define things clearly with them when you go in, that you have an expectation too, that they're going to promote the credit union because you're doing a great service to them. But when you throw, 10, 20, $30,000 out at a nonprofit and you get zero membership return, that's a challenge. And
Yeah.
once you start doing that, it's very hard to pull back too. So, set those goals in front and make sure everybody's aware of what it is the expectations are.
Oh, I let me start with this. We have actually had conversations with executives who are retiring right now, and they said the reason that they're going to retire now is because they don't want to be the ones who are leading during this AI revolution that is happening.
Yeah.
Right? So what how is Eagle Community dealing with it? And Linda, what are your members doing around AI? I'm gonna throw that in there. And because it's not something that we can ignore. It's going to be prevalent in every aspect of what we do, also prevalent in the expectations of members and community. So what's happening there, and how are they trying their best to integrate that as another thing added to their daily to-do list?
Well, if they're integrating it right, it's saving them time. And I'm happy to report they are. It's like, how do they're like leaning into like providers that are being presented to them through sponsorships and that come to our conference and whatnot, that are going to help them be more efficient.
Yeah.
Because that's like there's a few of them out there that are coming to the forefront of like our members that are like, how do you make sure that anybody in the credit union can just type something in and find out what they need? Right. But it's data in, data out. I mean, that's the other challenge. It's like it's only going to work as good as the data you put into that, and to really find true partners that are going to help them to build it. They're embracing it. They're embracing it not the way I do when I see the cats that have like the spaghetti fell on their head. I mean, but I think really embracing it, how it's going to make them more efficient, to free up the time for them to go out there and be in front of their members and help them that way. Because, I think it keeps coming back to the member experience. They need to get the good information. And how do you get that? So I think AI and Zach, that is probably one of the reasons I retired, because I knew these things were coming. Not that I can't handle it, but there are other people that are more like Jason, that are more tech savvy and prepared to do it. And it was time to pass that on.
That's great. That's great. Scott?
Seriously, I think it's a great time. I think there's some great opportunities out there. There are some great AI products right now at Eagle. Most of it's on the back end. It's just making us a lot more efficient and things like that. If I had my way, I would still be CEO for a couple more years. Yeah, what happens happens. But I think it's a very interesting time. Again, too, though, even on the AI side, comes down to expense. A lot of it can be very expensive. We've implemented quite a few things, especially on the chatbot side, things like that, that they've worked well for Eagle so far. So there's a lot that goes into it. You're right. They have to be set up right, and it's time intensive to make sure that they're right. But they can be a great benefit. And right now, it's just making us more efficient.
Yeah, I'm going to do a call out. I already did one in the chat, but I know Tyler. I actually don't know exactly what Tyler's doing, but I'm going to make Tyler, if he's actually paying attention, to write something in the chat, because I'm curious. And Scott, I don't know if you know this, but I knew Mike, as we had done. I had spoken to him as candidates for other positions previously in the past, so I was really excited to see Mike chosen to come into Eagle. I think one of the key things that I would say of learning that we have had here, MSA, CUS, and our technology pillar, plus we have the friction points with DASO, the Digital Automation Service Organization. They're QSO now, supported by credit unions, but the AI really starts with the automation piece, and automating things. And with that, there's less of the worry about the data that's happening. What that automation is doing is running the stuff that you don't want to have to be running, so that you aren't, get rid of half a day's tasks through automation on the back end. So then the CEO comes in and has half a day to work on that strategy, like Nina shared in the chat as well. So really look for that. If we got business partners on the phone here, that's when you're integrating AI or into your product or solution. It should be something that quickens what the credit unions are doing. Not just a generative, ask or copilot type feature. We really need to give them the opportunity and the know-how and the tools that will take what they're doing and minimize the time by a fraction. You know what I mean? And really bring it down. So I love it. I'm glad to hear. We know our small credit union CEOs are always trying to be at the top of the what's going on. So good to hear that. If you were looking at NCUA data right now, looking at financials, what are some of the early warning signs you think all CEOs, but especially our small credit unions, should be looking at as we begin to close out 2026 here, the back half of the year?
Oh,
Who wants to go first? Either one. Go for it, Linda.
well, are we really having compliance relief? And I think there is that happening. But it's always you know, be prepared. I mean, and I always like to say and I would stand up to examiners all the time. It's because like I do not wake up. I used to say I don't wake up to serve you. I wake up to serve my members. So if there's something that you think we need to change or pivot, by all means, we will. But you're not the reason I wake up in the morning. But what but you want to make sure you have your infrastructures in place. Data security. I'm gonna leave it that way. Data security. Yeah.
Scott.
Basically, I have to agree with Linda. I really didn't concern myself with examiners that much. Not that they really liked me, not that I really cared. It's just a matter of making sure that you're in compliance with various rules and regulations. You're right. It comes back to what's best for the credit union. I'll fight for what's best for the credit union every day, every time. They're not always going to like what you do, but as long as you're not doing anything illegal and you're not out of bounds or not watching what you should be watching, then you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
All right. Very good. Very good. I've got two kind of like, these are probably a little bit more rapid fire questions, but Linda, I love you because you'll always give me a little bit more. But Scott, I'm going to start with you. First is if, you know, how do I say this? You are not CEO. But if one of your members all of a sudden moved into the $1.5 billion mark, okay, who knows how that happened, right? But it happened. What would be one of the things that you would do? So if Eagle did, or one of your members, Linda, what would be the first thing that you would, as kind of like a coach, advisor, just somebody that you know? And I want you to don't think the typical normal stuff. All right. I don't want to hear, we'll hire a business development person, we'll hire the team. The infrastructure will come. What different about the infrastructure would you do that you don't see in $1.5 billion credit unions right now?
Wow.
I know this one's gonna throw you. I have pre-done questions, but I didn't like the way that they were worded after this conversation so far. So
yeah, that's a tough one because it would take a lot of time to adjust. If you made a leap like that in a very short period, wow. The only thing I can think of
and
really is
imagine that it came with all the infrastructure, right? So it came with kind of where you're going. So, but what would just something that you see that level isn't doing right now that they could be doing, whether it be better for the credit union industry and the movement, whether it be fighting for something or not fighting for something. I want you to give us the real stuff.
yeah, it would be to stop soaking up every small credit union around, for one thing, because the consolidation is still insane, and it doesn't need to be that way. And fortunately, I've had some large credit unions, significantly large credit unions, where the CEOs have been very helpful. They helped us when we were smaller, and they didn't want us to merge in, which was really nice. Plus, you could count on them for sound advice, and surprisingly enough, they got some sound advice from us on a few things too. There is a lot of talent out there, even in small credit unions. A lot of it's not recognized, so
Gosh.
it gets helped. But all I can think of is really improve on what you have. You can always improve. You can always make improvements on anything that you have, and you'd have to be looking for ways to do that.
Yeah. I have a visual in my head right now. I'll share after you're done, Linda.
When you really said that, it terrified me because we were a $200 million credit union. I actually had a member come in one day and deposit $14 million.
Oh my God.
And I panicked. I mean, not really, but I called the guy up and was like, where did you get $14 million and how long am I going to have it? Because that was almost 10% of our assets. And I'm like,
yeah. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord.
And a really nice guy. He actually came from Pennsylvania. He lived in California for a long time, but he used to own Bostic, the staple company. And he had sold it. And this was a late payment I guess he received millions over the years, but he loved our credit union, so he put it in there. But he was really nice about it. It's like, it'll be there about a month. I'm like, that's good. Because I don't want to put it out there and then have you withdraw it tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. All right, Linda.
Okay, so Zach, if I was going into a one, if oh
Sure, sure.
that it,
Just imagine you
no,
went from upward to a 1.5 billion
yeah,
dollars. What would
yeah,
you
yeah,
do
yeah.
differently?
Well, I would bring some of the things that we did to that larger credit union because they may not be doing it because bigger is not always meaning it's more efficient. And to go through and maybe bring in one of those efficiency people to help me since it's a larger credit union, to see where they could have efficiencies. I mentor like women around the country, and some of them are from large credit unions. And as we're working through some of what they're doing, it's kind of we did it better at our smaller credit union. So how do you look at to maybe help improve things? Again, earlier on, I said you don't know what you don't know. And in a larger credit union, just because you're running a larger credit union, you may not know where there's some things that could really be cleaned up. So really to kind of go in and, embrace and just go in and learn because there's some things, and one of my buddies is on here. I'm not going to call him out. They said what we do in our credit unions, we probably can do better than what some of the larger credit unions are doing, and that's not a criticism. It's just a
Nope.
reality.
I agree, and we're at the kind of the top of our session here. So Buell, I know we started a couple minutes late, so give me a little bit of leeway here. Just to wrap it up, I think I love that, Linda. Scott, same. One of the pieces that we do a lot is we work organizationally with credit unions. And so when we're talking about talent, and this is actually where we're taking CU Pride's leadership conference, is the fact that number one, we do have great talent out there and we will lose them. Number one, with the mergers. Number two, with the fact that there is no growth opportunity like there used to be anymore. And number three, do not get those people excited, tell them that you love, that they're thinking future forward, and then as soon as they get into that role, they get this pressure to do stuff the way it was done before.
Right.
And they don't get praised, they don't get, they immediately begin to lose all of that edge and that drive. And it's the same thing. Credit unions start to build and build, and then it's like, oh, protect, 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 because we don't want to go back down. Well, then you're just doing what we've been doing for the past 20, 30, 40 years. So
Right.
take that innovative thought, whatever it is, whether you are talent or you're a CEO of a credit union that's growing, and don't stop that. Continue it. Continue being what you were doing before at $5 billion. And if you're at $5 billion right now, take yourself back to where you were at a smaller credit union and some of the things that you were doing. And what does that implementation look like today?
Yeah.
So one word, what's one thing you want everybody to just make sure that they are watching or take action on today, Linda? I'll give you up to 3 words because I know you.
I know. Say, remember your member. And I'm just gonna
Okay.
because I see what Nina just put in the chat, and I think that is it. Like empathy and remember the member.
I love it. Scott.
hey, it's a great point. Like Linda, I have 4 different credit unions. 2 of them are large. The largest credit unions tend to treat me like a bank. They've lost that membership relationship. But the other thing is embrace change. I know it's a lot harder if you're a 5 or 10 or $15 million credit union. You need your people there. But the one thing we did learn from COVID is I even before I left, most of my staff is in and out of the office. They're flexible. You can work them from home. They're actually a lot happier. They're actually a lot more productive. We just make sure that they're in that hybrid workforce actually works well. Not only that, it saved us a ton of money because we didn't have to expand corporate headquarters and things like that. You have people sharing space. So embrace the change. And if you have trustworthy, good people, they'll actually be better for it.
I love it. Well, Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you now to close us out. But reminder, we're going to stick around for a little bit for some Q&A, and I know there's other CEOs that are on the call. So if you want to stay on, we'll bring us all in to have some good conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Zach, and thank you to the panelists. That was a great conversation. I love the insight and things that you talked about there. I think the one off the top, when Linda talked about bridging the gap between high touch and high tech, or she talked about picking one or the other actually, and I think we're at a really good inflection point now where we can actually start to do both with the tools that are available for us, and especially the smaller credit unions are now having access to some of these things through the CUS model, where we don't have to pick one or the other. We can do both, and we can do both well, driving efficiency and allowing more of the employees to be member facing and actually being high touch to the member. And when Scott was talking about talent may not be available in a particular area, and using the fractional leadership to gain access to really high level talent that may not have been available to you before, I think that's an awesome point to key in on for some of those CEOs on the call here. So that was awesome. Our next episode is June 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we're going to be talking about collections, everybody's favorite topic. Collections is member service. If you guys would like to join that conversation in the social networking hub at CUS, please go to cus.mitchellstankovic.com and join us there. We'd love to have you guys a part of the conversation. I see there's a ton of activity in the chat from some of my favorite people. We have Jay in the chat. We have Tyler, Nina, Sarah's out there watching. So I know we got a lot of great people joining us. So I'd like to turn it over and talk about some of these things there.
Linda, Scott, I don't know if you saw any of the comments in there from Nina or Tyler. I think one of the things that we didn't really talk about, which is really, really important, is the long-term economic potential fallout of what's happening with the war in Iran. They're predicting inflation as of right now, depending on where we go with it. Cost of living. I know I'm hearing the just everywhere that prices are up. So what about that? What does that look like? And does that then become the number one thing that people are looking at once we step on the other side of it?
People are stressed, obviously, and we're hearing that, and it's not just your members, it's your employees. And I think that's the other thing. It's like, how do you serve them differently, or how do you support them? Although I heard today, supposedly they are being told that the war needs to, so if that hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel here soon, because it's no joke. It's just all the things that are happening. It's like low income or the migrant communities, or the immigrant communities. It's kind of scary out there. But just like, what can you do? I think that's always been my mantra when I was at the credit union. It's like, what can you do? Can you collectively do food drives? Can you partner with the food pantry? I mean, what does that look like? Because it's crazy.
Yeah, I would do some of the things Linda actually just mentioned. We do partner with a couple of food drives. Not only do we staff them, we do food drives for them, things like that. I think anything you can do for the community itself like that is a big plus. When it comes to the immigrant community, 50% of our membership is Hispanic. And my only thing is vet them carefully. You do want to make sure that you're on sound footing if push comes to shove and you have problems. As far as the war in Iran, who knows if it's going to last a week or 6 months. I don't want to get into the political side of it. That's not my space. I just worry about the economics of it. We do have rising prices. Still, inflation hasn't been what it's been in the past, so hopefully it stays within reason. And when's the Fed going to finally take some kind of action from a financial perspective? I imagine your margins are still getting crushed. That's a very challenging spot for any financial institution, and credit unions specifically, and smaller credit unions probably more than larger ones. So.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I love the fact of reaching out to those community, those direct community outreach, like food drives and things like that. It's, in my personal experience, my local credit union, one of my favorite things about them is how active they are in the community. And it's built a lot of loyalty to, from me to the credit union, to the institution. So I love that point. Sarah Cook is asking about, did you implement any AI solutions for back office efficiencies while you were there,
Or know
Scott?
of the ones that are going on? Yeah, because I know Linda probably has some ideas too. By the way, Tyler put a whole bunch of things that he's doing with it in the chat if anybody
Yeah,
didn't see it. So
Yeah, because I know Tyler uses Current Wave, who's one of the ones that I know, and that is that back office efficiencies, and and again, data in, data out. But we've heard a lot of successes with that. Just because, if you have 10 employees or 100 employees and they're all giving different answers and they don't know where to find it, that's to me one of the easiest. And so I know, Tyler, that's Current Wave. That's probably one of the easiest things to me that I would implement, if you right, is like everybody needs to be beaten to the same drum. If they're not, nothing's going to get done.
Yeah, I know at Eagle, mostly came about. It's just happening so fast. But a lot of the AI they've implemented has been for efficiencies in the back office, specifically on the lending side. It's helped out quite a bit. I could find out. I couldn't tell you what products they're actually using. I could find out for you. I'd be glad to share them. And then it's the member communications. I think they've done a real good job of it through the web, through the app, things like that, automated responses that actually do a better job than it's done in the past of answering questions and directing members to help the self-service side quite a bit.
yeah. And that's
I
super
think,
important, right? Getting clarity of direction from the members, what the members are saying back to you, and what they want to see from the credit union, what they need, right?
yeah,
Especially in these kind of turbulent times.
and having somebody that's going to be able to do, I used to always say, if you're in a contract with somebody, they need to be able to solve more than one thing. So like, I mean, we talked about Current Wave because we know a lot of people use them. They are very much do what they do very well. Are there people like, I know Mini Branch will solve more for, like, they do your chat and they can do also the filtering of the data to responses. So finding people that can solve more than one problem for you makes your life easier as a CEO, and also for your staff. So you're not, the left hand isn't talking to the right hand. It's,
and I love that, Linda, because I'm also going to tack onto that. The business partners, this is a really, really great opportunity that if you want to show your buy-in to the credit unions and the cooperative principles and what we do, be cooperation amongst non-cooperatives, which means if you do something really well with AI and somebody else does something really well with AI and they complement each other, find a way to work together.
exactly.
What does that integration look like so that you both can be part of that and you're solving more for the credit unions rather than them having to go to 7 or 8 different places to get one thing done. And I think now is the time for that. I think our ecosystem is prepared and ready. And we're very lucky at CUS to have found business partners who are doing that exact thing right now, where they're talking to each other on how do we make this work. You can connect anything these days, right? Technology wise, you can connect anything. What does it look like? How do they make it work, and where do they go? And then don't forget those damn contracts. We've got a wonderful business partner who's coming out, and it is, if you want to leave them, 6 months. They just need 6 months of notice, and you're done. No contract buyout, no nothing. So
Yeah,
we're pushing for them to really understand what that means, and they're doing that because they believe they have a product that's you'll want to stay with them, and that's how it should be. So, all right,
yeah.
Bill. Sorry.
Zach, I got one more thing I wanted to get to here. The other buzzword or hot topic, if you will, that's going on. I want to get our great panelists' thoughts on this. It comes from our friend Tyler once again, and he said that stablecoin could be a massive disruptor. And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that and what you're seeing around stablecoin and how that's going to change or disrupt what we got going on.
I ain't got nothing. It's talked. We actually have people that like come and talk to our members about what does that look like. And Yeah, it's going to come. What does that look like? I think it's everybody. I'll wait and see. It's because it's not so much there that's the biggest conversation. So that's all I got.
Same here. It hasn't been an issue, so it's not something that we spent a lot of time dwelling on at this point.
Do you
It,
want
it,
me
it-
to jump in?
Oh,
Yeah.
come
yeah,
on.
we
Come on,
were just
Tyler.
waiting for you, Tyler. I mean,
So we're at a little bit different place in that Wyoming is they've already issued their own. The state of Wyoming issued a stable coin. It's the Frontier coin. It's built on Ethereum's platform. And so it is there in the market. People can actually go buy it. And it's pegged by state statute to the US dollar. So it's a one for one with no ability to depeg from the US dollar based on state law. What we're seeing, because it's such a prevalent thing in the state of Wyoming, there's a lot of interest and a lot of members are coming in asking for the ability or to be part of the ecosystem through a trusted financial partner because, downloading Coinbase and getting into it that way feels less secure and at more of an arm's length kind of from the transaction, and they're not understanding all of the pieces that go into making it. There's also, they hear crypto, they don't understand the difference between a Bitcoin and a stable coin. The way I explain it is that Bitcoin is a commodity. It's a stock. You're buying something whose value changes. Stablecoin is not, right? There's no change to it. It changes with the value of the US dollar. Um, but if you take this from a large extension perspective, if everything can be paid for in stablecoin and it's backed one for one by the US dollar, and you can get your paycheck in stablecoin and you can pay for everything in stablecoin, what do you need a bank for? Or a credit union or any traditional financial institution? Your money lives on the internet, your wealth lives on the internet in stablecoins, and then we don't have any dollars to do community lending and investment and things like that. I mean, there is an extension here that could go as far as completely rendering the traditional financial and ecosystem as we know it in the US completely irrelevant, in my opinion.
Way to bring
So,
the mood up, Tyler.
sorry.
wow.
I just think that it's one of these things that we have to, I mean, there's regulations coming, the Genius Act, the Clarity Act.
Yeah.
I think credit unions need to really see and understand what is happening with this and be engaged in the process and be engaged in what is happening, not waiting for just what the ecosystem says is going to happen, because the consumer is actually who's going to drive what happens with stablecoin and Bitcoin.
Tyler, you
Yeah,
gave
I
the
love your
best.
insight on that. Oh, sorry,
I'm so,
Zach, go ahead.
no, it's okay. I just had to. My comment is that Tyler gave the best definition of all of that. That I would have been like Linda and Scott and just been like, somebody else will take that one.
That's actually where I was going with that, because I love his insight, because in Wyoming, they are on the forefront of so much of this stuff and it's affecting you in a different way. But I can tell you this, what you're experiencing today, people are going to experience in the next 6, 18 months in other states. It's going to happen. So what you're seeing today is just a preview of what's coming to them too, right? You're just getting it first because you guys are on that leading edge up there. So I love the insight and love the input there. Thanks for coming on camera too. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. So sounds good. Thank you to everyone. Thank you for Tyler for jumping in. I really enjoyed everybody, their thoughts and discussions here. And we will see you guys on Tuesday at 10 a.m.